Hey, Isabella, did you see that Jason Tatum from the Celtics, a lot of people have been calling him the Anomaly recently. That's a nickname he got, the Anomaly.
Okay.
But he was asked about it, and he said that he kind of prefers a different nickname. He likes to be called Big Deuce.
Why?
I guess his son, Jason Tatum Jr., goes by Deuce because he's the second Jason Tatum. And so he likes to go by Big Deuce.
So why doesn't he just call himself the first?
Right. That would make sense.
I'm confused. Is there supposed to be some reference? Is it that the son has been already called Deuce and that's why he's calling himself Big Deuce?
Yes.
Ooh.
But we thought you would say, doesn't that mean big poop? Hello. Welcome to Casuals, the sports podcast that's like pretty chill. It's not so chill today, but it's the sports podcast that wants you to know you can like sports whatever amount you like them, and in whatever way you like them. We're not here to judge. I'm KATY Nolan. I'm your host. Joined today, no guest, just the crew. We got Brady. We got Chris. We got your girl, Isabella. If you want to reach us here at Casuals, you can do so by email, casualswithkatynolan@gmail.com, voicemail 646-801-0043, or on socials, IG and TikTok at Casuals, the podcast. We start every podcast. What we're going to get to today, right? I should probably say we're going to get to, hopefully, that those new era hats in baseball. You may have heard it in other places. We have to talk about it. I can't not. This is the craziest thing I've seen in a while. We've got NFL free agency. We have a new segment we're going to premiere called You Don't See That Every Day. It's pretty cool, right? You don't see that every day. I think we're going to talk about cornhole and pettiness and a little bit. Chris has been pitching this NCAA tournament preview segment for like 4 weeks, and I keep putting it off. And he said, today we're kind of coming down to the wire, so we're going to let him take a swing at it and see what he put together. It should be, you and I, listener, will be hearing that for the first time together. But of course, we start every podcast with a yap, and today's is as self-serving as they've ever been. I had my heart broken by sports this weekend. I'm upset. I'm devastated. I'm angry. I have a wide range of emotions. And I just, if I can't talk about that at the beginning of my own podcast, then what's the point of having a sports podcast, right? So as you all may know, I'm a big Boston Bruins fan. That's my family's connection to sports. I grew up, my brother was playing hockey, so my whole family loves hockey. That's our team, the Boston Bruins. And I'm going to start with a little bit of context for you so that if you're not a Boston Bruins fan or a hockey fan, or you're not paying attention in any way, you can understand where I'm coming from and why this hurts so much. So the Bruins in the 2022 season, right, were supposed to be amazing, and they were. They won the President's Trophy, which means that they had the most points in the regular season. They set a record, 62 wins. Their record was 62-12-5. That's crazy. They won a ton of games. They were an incredible team. Everybody thought they'd win the cup. What happened instead is in the first round of the playoffs against the Florida Panthers, a team that at the time had 5 fans. I'm hurt. Let me get my hurt out, okay? The Bruins had a 3-1 series lead, so they had won 3 games. They just needed to win one more game, and instead of doing that, they lost in Game 7 to the Florida Panthers, eliminated in the first round by the Florida Panthers. In the offseason, we lost our captain, Patrice Bergeron, so Brad Marchand was named captain. That was our new captain now. Brad Marchand had been with the team for, at that point, 15 years. Fantastic story, Brad Marchand. He was drafted by the Bruins. He's always been with the Bruins. He was originally, a pest. He's a smaller guy, so everybody knows a smaller hockey player. You got to sort of play differently to make up for what you lack in size, and he did that. He was an incredible shit talker. It just sort of came to embody the identity of the team. Like, his skills came. We got to watch him grow into the player that he was. He's a fantastic player. So that's our new captain. Great. We go into the 2023 season. Again, not as good as the prior season, but we again make it into the playoffs. The Boston Bruins do. Round 1, don't worry, we beat Toronto. Took 7 games, which it probably shouldn't have, but we win. We're into the second round. Who do we meet in the second round? The Florida Panthers. You guessed it. So there we are against the Florida Panthers, the team that absolutely ruined what was supposed to be our great season the year before. Here are the Florida Panthers again, and we lose to them in 6 games, and they go on to win the Stanley Cup. So I hate the Florida Panthers. And when I say hate, I this is the whole point of this podcast. Like, that to me is healthy hate. That is like, I'm supposed to hate you. You ruined my night. I put on my jersey and I sat here and I watched the game and I got excited for my team, and you suck. You suck, and you took that from me, and I hate you. This weekend, or the end of last week, I don't know, guys, it all blurs together, but it was the NHL trade deadline. And there were rumors that we had maybe heard that the Bruins were going to like sell, go into a full rebuild. And there were rumors that Brad Marchand was going to get traded. And I was like, no, he's been here for 16 years. Like, that's our captain. You're not going to trade away our captain. And then on trade deadline day, we started to hear that, like, no, maybe they won't be trading Brad Marchand. So I'm like, everything's coming up Nolan. Everything's looking great. And then in the final hour, we find out that not only is Brad Marchand being traded, but he's being traded to the Florida Panthers. I am beside myself. I can't. And not only that, then we find out what the trade was for. Because you think you're going to trade away your captain to a team I hate more than anything. You better be getting something back. And what they got back is a conditional pick. It's a 2nd round pick, but it conditionally could become a first if Brad Marchand plays 50% of the Panthers' playoff games. Which means, in order for the return to be what I believe it should be for a player like Brad Marchand, who I love, I now have to theoretically root for the Panthers to do well in the playoffs with my guy. Fuck you. This sucks so bad. I'm so pissed off. And it's the thing about sports media is that, like, that's not a take you're going to hear on TV. Like, the take you're supposed to give is like, well, why does this make sense for the team? And like, what is the rebuild about? And technically the value of this guy and this, I don't give a shit about any of that. I loved Brad Marchand because of eventually the things that made him Brad Marchand. Right? So I don't know if he still is, but at one point he was the most suspended player in the league. He's annoying. He's a guy that we have multiple times described as like, if he played for any other team, I'd hate him too. And now he does. And that's crazy. He's a guy that, listen, when he first started here, I remember him specifically, we were calling him Marchand. And I remember him specifically being like, actually, it's Marchand. And then like 2 years later being like, guys, actually, it's Marchand. And like, that sums him up to me. He's fucking with us. He's very good at being a pest, at annoying you, at pissing you off, at riling you up. And now to know that, like, his last act as a Bruin, and it's not his fault, but like now and then you find out that like he wanted to stay. He wanted to be a Bruin forever. I could barely get through it. I'm not going to say I watched the whole thing because seeing him in a hat and a jersey that said Florida Panthers on it with a Florida Panthers step and repeat behind him made me want to jump off of the roof of my building. But I watched his press conference and he got choked up talking about the Bruins and basically being like, I wanted to be there forever, but here we are. And I just like, I get it. Fans are always so quick to swoop in and let me know that it's a business and that I'm stupid and that I'd be a bad GM because I'm too emotional. And that's why I'm not the fucking GM. I'm a fan. And a fan is supposed to be able to like a player and not want that player to leave. And maybe that player wants to, like the thing with Mookie Betts, which happened with the Red Sox. A lot of people will say like, well, Mookie really wanted to leave. And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't actually make me feel any better, but I guess it can make me feel better for him or whatever. If the player wants to stay and I love the player and that player has grown to fit so well in the organization and like embody what it is that Boston likes to think of itself as, like this scrappy, like pick yourself up and become the player you want to be. Fight against the odds and the way that your body was built to become this player that's like a real difference maker and that other teams hate and that you love that they hate him. And now I just have to watch that guy go play for the team that I never want to watch play another game. The team that I hate, whose fans and here's my, I'll button this so we can get onto a podcast. But like, it's been crazy to me watching Florida Panthers fans be like, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I had a hard time. Matthew Tkachuk is on the Florida Panthers. I hate him because he's annoying to me. And I've had to watch him chew on his fucking mouth guard, the way he has it hang out of his mouth for the whole game to beat us in the playoffs 2 seasons in a row. So I hate that man. And that man was obviously on Team USA for 4 Nations. And I had a hard time rooting for Tkachuk when he represented my country. Okay? You guys are now fired up. You have Marchand. That's crazy. That's nuts. You would never catch me being thrilled to have somebody from that team on my team. Y'all are sick in the head. And I hope he helps you win. I don't know. I don't have a pretty button for it. Sometimes being a sports fan fucking blows. And this is one of those times. So sorry that I don't have hard-hitting, smart analysis. My heart is broken. I feel like I feel like I got into a relationship I didn't think I wanted, but learned to completely fall in love, head over heels, and then they left me for the girl they told me not to worry about. Just like I feel abandoned, and that's the
I'm so sorry. That actually, when you gave that analogy, I was like, damn.
It hurts. It sucks. It sucks so bad, and now I have to like hope that they get married so that I can have a good pick.
You're going to have to block all of them.
Which also, actually, I'm not going to root for. I'm not going to root for the Panthers to do well. Why? Because the Bruins kind of suck at drafting anyway. So I'm not really, it's not like I think if they get that first round pick, it's going to make so much of it. I don't care. I don't care. It's crazy because I don't even like hockey. It's crazy because I've never even watched hockey in my life. I think it's dumb. What are even sports? Okay, let's do something funny. That's why in the height of NFL free agency, we're not going to talk about that today for our lead story. We will get to it. But our lead story today is something a little more us, something to put a smile on my face because I deserve it. New Era has put out a new collection of caps. This is sort of a niche favorite of mine, is the way that merch is going in sports. Taking some interesting directions, but clearly they're trying to reinvent some sort of a wheel to really get people to feel like they got to buy a hat again. And not all ideas are good ones, but this one made it out of the brainstorm. It's the Overlap 5950 collection. And what it is it takes the name of the team across the front of the hat and then smack dab in the middle of the name, overlaid on top of it, is the logo. So for teams like the Blue Jays or the Orioles, you can barely read what it says in the background. And then in the middle is the little, the Orioles have that little smarmy bird with the hat on. And the Blue Jays have the side profile of the bird with the little maple leaf at the back of its head. So it's like a picture that's blocking the name. And believe it or not, that's when it works best. When you can't read the text behind it, you can see the logo and the logo is a picture. But a lot of Major League Baseball teams' logos are letters. Like the Texas Rangers is a T. The Mariners is an S. The Athletics, obviously, is an A. The Angels is an A with a halo on it. And in these situations of this hat, you're seeing a word written, and then smack dab in the middle of that word is a big letter. And so oftentimes that's creating a new word. Already, one of these hats has been taken down and is no longer available to buy. And that's the Texas Rangers hat, because it was discovered that a mashup of their cap and jersey logos create the appearance of a vulgar word in Spanish. The T kind of covers up the X in the Texans logo, and so it says Titas. Oh, because it says Texas. It usually says Texas, and then there's a T over the X. So that means you're wearing a hat that says Titas. Not to me, the first one I would have pulled. I would have pulled the Angels hat. So, granted, it's not spelled exactly the way it would be, but if it says Angels and then that giant A is over the G, what you've got there, my friend, is anals. Did we have any other favorites in this train wreck of a hat release?
It's hard to top Major League Baseball putting out a hat that just says anals and very clear, like very legible, clean text. Oh my goodness.
I mean,
Bobbin for Boston.
Yeah, Bobon. The Bobon. It's Bobon. Bobon.
I like the Astros.
I was going to say Astros is
like
very funny.
If you're really drunk and calling someone an asshole, like the hat
You're
is
an
there.
asshole. Yeah, I agree. I also think the Mariners Majors is pretty funny.
Or Fippies.
Yeah.
For Phillies.
The Fippies. Ariana for Arizona, because they've got Arizona, but then over the Z and the O is that A, so it just says Ariana. I think if I'm Ariana Grande, I'm going to get that hat. That's an Ariana hat.
Gotta lean into it.
Yeah.
So I got to the point of hitting purchase last night because clearly we need one of these in the
We're
studio.
getting the anals. I would
right
love if we
shoulder.
could have gotten the T-Taz, but I'll settle for an anals.
T-Toss was good. Was going quick. We're going T-Toss over Ariana for the casual studio.
Well, I think like
Anals.
yeah.
I want that one.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too.
that's
I
what
think
we're gonna do.
Ariana's great. If we ever, I don't know, look, maybe we use the hat to lure her to casuals as a guest. Then we can we not afford, as a podcast, 2 hats? Is that out of our budget? That's very
In this
revealing
economy?
to me to not be able to afford 2 hats. We could put one on the guest side, one on the host side.
when Ariana
Bobon.
Grande comes in, we will
Yeah,
get her an
not
Ariana
if,
hat.
but when.
What percentage chance do you think this whole thing was reverse engineered from a designer noticing the T-Tass and the
No way.
anals
No,
and
they're not that smart.
deciding
No,
that,
no.
you know what, this is going to be a hilarious bit, and they just committed 100% to this design just so they could get hats that say T-Tass and anals?
I think they're just running out of ways to slap additional shit on a hat.
I think
to
that's
sell.
it. I also think Chicago's the only one that works, and that's crazy. It's
'Cause it still
crazy to
says
think
Chicago.
that the only one whose like size of their letter matches up with the size of the letter in the word is Chicago. The rest of them look awful. The Brewers, it just looks like a word with no vowels. BR, giant glove with a baseball, RS. Who would wear this? I have thought this about hats more often in the last 2 years than ever. Have you seen these? I think I discussed this last podcast, but if you haven't looked it up yet, I highly recommend. I feel like it was for maybe Stadium Series hockey, but Fanatics put out these hats where it had the 2 logos of the teams that were playing in the game with a versus in between it. And it was like, why would I wear a hat like that? Why? To
Incredibly
symbolize that I went to the game? Then why can I buy it online? What is this merch? This idea, you'd think they tried it with 2 of them before they even printed the hat. Like, you would think they'd go, oh, I see the vision, but it's not really working. Maybe we make one of them look like it's meant to be in the background. They both look like they're competing, both the logo and the name look like they're competing for prominence on the hat. It's not like one is a little bit faded or one is like clearly it's breaking through it just looks like they accidentally printed 2 hats on one hat.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks like a Photoshop session that they just forgot to delete the first layer and just exported it on a hat.
That's why I'm standing by the theory that it's just an elaborate bit. Like, they wanted to put it out, and they're thinking, this is going to be hilarious. People are going to shit all over it, and it's going to sell.
No.
And it is going to sell, because we're talking about it. People are talking about it.
I have breaking news that is completely disappointing.
No, Anals is done?
Anals is not. It is completely sold out on MLB.
See, it's sold out.
You knew that was going to happen when you brought the idea up. That's why we said last night we have to buy it. Oh, I'm upset. Now
And
I'm
I
even
thought
more
we'd have a
upset.
chance. I could print more hats. I could make this democratic. We could decide.
You don't think everyone would have
What
wanted
hat?
anals?
I mean,
Exactly.
Flip that.
clip that. Great. So the story that was supposed to make me happy has now made me more upset because we can't even get the anal.
I can get you a fresh Fippies.
Give me a Fippies. I want an Ashos, and then maybe a Nawals.
The Nawals is, bye, buddy. Very charming.
Hope you find your dad. Hope you find your hat.
Dodoa is kind of funny, too.
Dodoa. I also like Mimi. The Miami one is Mimi.
Yeah.
Dude, this sucks. We couldn't get Titas, and I was like, that's fine. We'll get anals. Brady? -2 points, and I don't know how many points there are, and I don't know what they're for. But just know that you have lost 2 points today.
No Titas and no anals for us.
I mean, next he's gonna. Some people would say we're all Teetles and anals. All right, let's move on to real sports news. NFL free agency started this. When was it officially? Yesterday?
Yesterday at noon. The legal tampering period.
Yeah, whatever that is. And we're not even going to...
such a loophole.
We're not even going to pretend to explain it. Basically, free agency has started. Lots of movement happening across the league. Obviously, the biggest one for me, not free agency, but DK Metcalf, who was on this podcast and said famously he would not like to go to Massachusetts if he were traded because that's not a desirable place to live, was traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh, famously... a desirable place to live. If you like Permanis, I feel like. That's the first thing I think of with Pittsburgh, and then probably the last. Technically the last is that the last time I went there, people were smoking inside of a bar. I didn't know we were still doing that anywhere. So
wow,
it's the last bastion of free. No, it was after it should have been. I don't know if they're still doing it, but they were. The town of wearing your jersey to church. They got DK Metcalf. And allegedly, I guess this is probably we'll get into right now, potentially Aaron Rodgers. We don't know yet. I'm looking at Brady to see if it broke yet, if it's happened.
We're going to timestamp 12:43 on Tuesday. Has not broken yet. Okay. But the news is Aaron Rodgers is the Giants are interested, the Steelers are interested, and now Aaron Rodgers has to hate the attention, but two teams are fighting over the services of Aaron Rodgers.
Which, I mean, really, I never would have seen coming, but I guess, even Sam Darnold got a lot of money after we all were like, he's not going to get any money because of that one disastrous performance. And he did still, right? He got a decent amount of money with the Seahawks, Brady.
Yeah, he got like $100 million.
Yeah, and that's me asking Brady that and then realizing we said we weren't going to talk about the money on this podcast because it's not the most interesting part to us. The lens through which we will be discussing the movement around the NFL is which team upgraded their chances of winning the most, which player upgraded his chances of winning the most, which player upgraded his local cuisine the most, and which player upgraded his local music scene the most. So I'm going to run through some moves and we'll discuss. First up, quarterback Geno Smith. He was on the Seahawks in Seattle, traded to the Las Vegas Raiders. So Seattle to Vegas, not that far. What were you going to say?
Serious weather upgrade.
Yeah, well.
Serious weather upgrade.
I like Seattle weather.
You like the cozy,
I like a little rain, I like a little twilight.
Yeah, I was gonna say twilight.
A little twilight weather. She gets it.
Geno's got to be. If Geno's a dry heat guy, if Geno's good with the, it's 110, but it's a dry heat, that's a definite upgrade. And everywhere in Vegas is air conditioned, so I don't think Geno's going to be outside in the desert running sprints.
And I'm almost certain you can smoke inside there still. But again, what do I know? Sam Darnold. Signed by the Seahawks, it leaves the Vikings in Minnesota. That's, I think, a weather upgrade as well.
It's definitely a weather upgrade, and it's definitely a Sam Darnold completing his Finding Nemo quest to get back home for his career. Sam Darnold was successful at USC, had a great college career in Southern California. Gets drafted by the Jets, travels across the country, has to go play in New York. New York's
gets
not
mono.
For everybody. Gets mono. Gets
Famously.
a graphic made about him getting mono, and then gets mocked for having a graphic made about him getting mono and missing football games.
Yeah.
Everyone turns on him.
People really
slowly
did.
starts trekking back west. The Oregon trails it over to Minnesota, has one good year, and now he's finally made it back to the West Coast where he can be beloved. Like, I love this whole narrative for Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I'm rooting
Shouldn't
for
have seen
Sam
coming.
Darnold.
He wanted to be a West Coast guy all along.
I'm rooting for Sam Darnold. I also feel like Mina Kimes was a Sam Darnold defender, and she's a big Seahawks fan, so I think that's going to be good for her. Another quarterback move, Justin Fields was playing for the Steelers, has now been signed by the Jets. So that's a Pittsburgh to New York upgrade.
Food upgrade,
Cuisine
too.
upgrade. Music upgrade, food upgrade.
Yeah. But
There's a
team-wise,
lot of
probably
crafting in
not.
Pittsburgh. It's probably not fair.
Yeah, team-wise, maybe not the upgrade. I don't know. Justin Fields for the Jets. I could see him having a great time. I could see him having a very bad time. Who are their
From fake Gotham City to real Gotham City.
Who are there? Is that a thing? What's that?
Oh, and Dark Knight. Dark Knight was they used Pittsburgh to shoot Dark Knight as the stand-in for Gotham City.
Really?
They're like, where can we blow up a football stadium and it wouldn't even be weird? So they just kind of nuked the entirety of Heinz Field. Not for real. But,
No,
you
in
know.
real life. Did you know that, Isabella?
Oh, I didn't. I was going to say, I was like, really?
Yeah, it's big budget. It's a big
The
budget.
Steelers signed
Big
off
scandal
on
in
that?
the NFL. Bane just kind of
Yeah.
blew it all out. So the Jets got rid of Devontae Adams.
Right.
They got rid of Alan Lazard.
Right.
They have
Still got Garrett Wilson.
Still have Garrett
Yeah.
Wilson. Garrett Wilson and Justin Fields hanging out, telling Ohio State stories, and
Okay. So they probably
Having-
didn't upgrade their chances of winning the most. Probably wouldn't pick them for that.
Upgraded from what? They won like 4 games with Aaron Rodgers.
Jeez Louise.
Can't be worse.
I told Mina that if Aaron Rodgers, which now obviously he won't, but when there was a second there where they were discussing that maybe the Seahawks wanted to talk to Aaron Rodgers, I told Mina I would pay her an Aaron Rodgers fee to come on Casuals and talk about the fact that her quarterback is now Aaron Rodgers. Luckily
I was
for her
rooting
and
for
me.
Aaron Rodgers to go to Minnesota just because the whole Brett Favre arc to a T, where
Yeah.
Brett Favre spends 12 years in Green Bay, goes to the Jets and bombs out, then goes to the Vikings and along the way commits many crimes.
I was going to say not to a T. I don't think he's yet done the. I don't think he's famously sent his to anybody. Isabella, you know anything about this? When
No.
Brett Favre sent a picture of his penis to a sideline reporter.
Yeah, sideline reporter. Not requested.
Oh
was
yes,
gonna say
sorry, I thought completely unsolicited. Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Well, so Kenny Pickett was on the Eagles and is now with the Browns. What are the Browns doing? What's
Where are they?
Cleveland?
Oh.
So Philadelphia to Cleveland, not far.
Far in the standings.
Yeah, yes, very far. As far as can be? No. Who was the worst team in the league last year?
So Tennessee has the number 1 overall pick,
Yeah, wow.
but not far. I think Cleveland's picking number 2.
Yeah.
Like they are the second.
Well, they
worst
are number
team.
2. I'll tell you that much.
So Kenny Pickett,
Big deuce.
literally tasked with taking the Browns to the Super Bowl from wear his championship ring around that facility. It's going to be awkward.
Yeah.
Small hand king. Good luck.
He has small hands?
Oh, Kenny Pickett, very famously tiny hands. Like he was the best quarterback in that draft, and he fell down to the 21st pick.
What draft was that?
5-6 years ago.
Dang.
Remember because at the NFL Combine, they are huge on measuring your hands.
Which Isabella knows. She's a huge
I was going to say,
Combine
is he
fan
the
now.
one whose hands grew?
No, that was
No, that's
this
Jalen
year.
Milroe this year. Kenny Pickett's hands
no.
never grew. And they're so wee that he actually he's one of the very few quarterbacks to ever wear gloves while playing quarterback.
Teddy Bridgewater.
It's like, Teddy owned it.
Teddy two
has
gloves.
to. Yeah, Kenny kind of has to not
Yeah,
drop
Kenny
the
has
football
to.
because footballs are
Kenny
big and slippery.
Pickett.
2022 a draft, by the way. 2022.
Thank you. Kenny Pickett, no, he can't, would then, I guess, be the answer. Tiny hands like that. Devontae Adams, we just talked about, he's no longer on the Jets. He's now with the Rams. That's Los Angeles. New York to Los Angeles. Popular move. Two of the big, people would say, 2 big cities, 2 of our biggest metropoli, I believe, is the...
Warmer weather.
Yeah, that's true. That is correct. Warmer weather.
More apathetic fan base, which can be a positive.
Can be good if they care about you a little bit less. Just a little bit less. Because sometimes they care too much, and every mistake you make comes back to haunt you.
DK's not exactly hiding. The man does a series of ads where he has a Taco Bell in his house. So I don't really think the attention bothers him.
Wait, who does?
I'm going to...
Devontae, you mean?
Oh, I thought you said DK.
Oh, it's a DK.
Yeah, because he's next.
No, DK's all
Yeah,
about Twizzlers.
Devontae does have the Taco Bell in his house, which I'd be fine with.
That'd be fine. The problem is, like, does the employee at Taco Bell live in his house?
Well, now here's a question I've always wondered. I believe my lovely fiance was the first to ask this question. Nick Cannon, I think, has like a candy store in his house, and it's like, who works there? Are they? Do they work?
Yeah, like, is it just a set
Here, or like, are they like a W-2 employee? Who are they?
Or
Who's
is it
their
just-
boss? Or is it just a bunch of
Did they
candy?
clock out?
Pantry.
Somebody's stuff, right? Or are we just calling a pantry something else? Like, did we just
mean-
brand a pantry?
It's cost effective at that point when you have to fill that many Easter baskets. You might
That's
as
a good
well
point.
just
Now,
buy a candy
now
store.
that's assuming that Nick Cannon is making Easter baskets for each of his, someone Google, children? 12, I would guess.
I think that actually is the
I'm
number.
going over.
Take the over. Isabella, you take the...
I think it's 12. I
yeah,
think it is
so
12.
she's taking the push.
12.
Yeah, sick. I'm actually embarrassed I knew that off top. I'm not thrilled about it. 12 kids. I don't think they all live at the house, Brady. I know in your mind it's like you have 12 kids, you got to have 13 bedrooms. I don't think it's like that. I think it's
You can bunk bed a couple of them.
that's true. You're right.
This article was from a couple of weeks ago, though. So.
Plenty of time. Anything could have happened. What else? Laremy Tunsil traded to the Commanders from the Texans. Also traded to the Commanders Deebo Samuel from the Niners. Dan is beside himself. The Niners have been gutted. Everybody's gone. But Brady, the good news for you, you got Deebo Samuel and Laremy Tunsil coming to your team. How do you feel about that?
Big fan. Debo, great at catching the football, running with the football, two essential skills for an NFL team.
Everyone
also,
says.
Laramie Tunsil, the guy that the night before he was drafted,
I
there
was
was a
gonna say
picture
this.
circulated on social media where he was smoking weed out of a gas mask.
Isabella, have
And
you ever
he
have you ever
dropped
put on a gas mask and hooked it up to a bong?
No, I'm okay with maybe just the bong.
Yeah.
don't
Even
think
a
I need-
bong, I'll be honest, I'm not afraid. A bong has knocked me on my ass before. A lady who partakes quite a bit, still only doing a couple hits out of a bowl, maybe a joint. But a bong will knock me on my ass.
How long are they
Now
keeping the
a-
gas mask on?
I don't know. I don't think it was video. It was just picture, right?
Yeah, I think it was just pictures. Like, but Laramie, it was
People
you know,
freaked out about it.
This is a different time. It was like 2020 or whatever, but it was a different time.
It was
We
before
were-
that, right? It was like 2018.
No, it's got to be. He's like 31, so it's probably around 2017, 2018. And we were terrified of a man who looks like he was smoking weed in a World War I trench.
2016.
Thank you. It was in the before times.
Lots
Laremy
happened since
Tunsil.
then.
Man,
See.
2016. It did not feel like 9 years ago.
I know, isn't that gross? I saw somebody say that the what's her name? The girl who played Cinderella in that movie, Lily.
Collins?
Yeah, yes,
Lily James.
Lily James.
Oh.
I saw them say that movie came out 10 years ago. I'm like, I don't even remember that movie. That was 10 years ago.
My old ass, when you said that girl who played Cinderella, I was like, Brandy?
Yeah, that's. Thank you for making me feel better.
I love that version of Cinderella, by the way.
You do?
Yeah.
Which one, Brandy or the
Brandy.
Yeah, me too. I thought you meant the.
I think
the
it's so
Lily. Yeah,
so good.
Of course it was.
Well, because it was Brandy and Whitney Houston, right?
Yeah.
I don't
can't
remember.
think
Don't do this.
so.
I don't remember. Don't do this. Why would you do this?
And then they had this Prince Charming's like father was like white, and then he was like a Filipino prince, but like did not have Filipino parents, like something along those lines.
Magic. That's the real magic of Cinderella.
The pumpkin turned into a carriage and the rats all sang and danced.
Yeah, that part we knew.
But it was the non-Filipino parents that crossed the line of believability.
You wrote here, I think, trying to make me feel better. All the people that the Patriots signed.
My
And
dudes.
I don't. Are any of these moving the needle for me? I ask someone else. Am I enthused by any of these?
Enthused? Not really.
No. Okay. But welcome to the team, Milton Williams and Carlton Davis, Harold Landry.
That is, oh my God, is that the least athletic sounding collection of people?
Yeah,
that you
that's
can
what I'm
sound?
looking at it. I'm going like, what is this? The new staff of the TGI Fridays? Robert Spillane and Morgan Moses. Like, oh, cool.
Go down to Milton's desk. He'll collate these for you.
We got an ad department. Dre Greenlaw from the 49ers going to the Broncos. Charvarius Ward from the Niners going to the Colts. Would you rather
This was all rolled into a is Dan okay?
I was going to say, would you rather go from San Francisco to Denver or from San Francisco to Indianapolis? I'd say Denver.
I wouldn't go to Denver to be an athlete of any sort because I've been to Denver twice in my life and like thought I was going to die after a half hour each time.
Yeah, you got to get off that plane in Denver and chug a bottle of water. Like you have to hydrate in a way that feels unnatural. And ironically, though one of the first states to legalize marijuana, you got to smoke it differently when you're first in Denver. You can't just get out there and, hit the slopes like you usually do. You just got to keep in mind you're a lot higher already than you normally are. So drink some water and chill out.
The first 6 beers hit much differently.
Very different. Everything's very different there. But that is where Dan's mom lives. She's a Broncos fan. So I was like, at least Dre Greenlaw is going to stay like in the family. And that did not soothe them at all. He was not like, yeah. He was very upset. He was very... The thing that tipped him over was when we found out about Kyle Juszczyk last night. That was like the last... That's when he was like, excuse me? The 49ers released Kyle Juszczyk. And he was devastated by that.
Kyle Juszczyk was beloved.
Yeah.
By that. He's the fullback.
Yes.
For the Niners.
He's a glue guy. You get rid of your glue guy, everything falls apart.
The problem is that the fullback is also a position that no other team uses. It's like just Kyle Juszczyk in the NFL, maybe like 2 other guys. So when they got rid of Kyle Juszczyk, like there's nowhere for him to go. I just feel bad. Like there's a Kyle Juszczyk out there, like walking down a railroad track with a bindle. Like they're parting ways with a franchise staple. His wife posted on Instagram, it was just their dog looking sad, and she just wrote mood.
Ugh.
Like there's no way to feel good about this.
And you may know her. Her name's Kristen, yes?
Yeah, it starts with a K.
Yeah. Let's just confirm before I finish a sentence.
I can't spell his name to search it.
I know. Juscyz, I think.
Yeah, Kristen.
Kristen. Okay. His wife, Kristen, who some of our listeners may know from her clothing design brand. She's the one that put those cool jackets and Chiefs merch on Taylor Swift. Isabel, did you ever see those?
No.
Yeah, she's a very good designer. Speaking of wags of the Niners, congratulations to Olivia Culpo or is she now Olivia McCaffrey? I don't know if she took his last name, but they just announced their pregnancy. So congratulations. Can I get a round of applause? Can somebody on this podcast pretend they care? Thank you. Congratulations to them. That's really it. That's free agency. Can you check one more time before we move on to see if Aaron Rodgers has signed with the Steelers? Brady, please. Time check and...
12:59. No sighting.
Nothing. Okay. Oh, yeah. And then Josh Allen got the most guaranteed money in NFL history, a 6-year contract extension with the Bills it's worth $330 million, but $250 million of it is guaranteed. $250 million guaranteed. That's the most guaranteed money an NFL player has ever had. Before that, it was Deshaun Watson from Cleveland. So that's if you think about guys you want to give money to for sure guaranteed, you think Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson. Guys, we've now reached the part of the podcast where we're going to do a new segment. Everybody get excited. Are you so excited? We haven't done that many segments.
Incredibly excited.
This segment is called You Don't See That Every Day. It's pretty cool, right? It's a drop. It sounds like it was me, but it's actually a drop. We paid a lot of money for that. Let's play it again. You don't see that every day. What?
Yeah, it's all AI.
Yeah. And we'll play that one more time because Chris stepped on it. You don't see that every day. Great. I'm so glad we paid that robot to do that. This is a collection of stories that truly you don't see every day. We'll start with our first one because that's how things go. During a Capitals-Kraken game over the last few days, that's the part Sunday. I always forget to write the day the thing happened because truly, it doesn't matter. You just got to trust me. It happened within the last few days. Capitals, Kraken. The refs had their hands full after a skirmish broke out between the two teams. Officials were forced to stop play. Things got a bit rowdy after Tom Wilson was seen cross-checking. Okay, we don't have to get this deep into details, but basically it sparked a team-wide brawl. No one dropped the gloves, but players from both teams were getting after one another. And when the referees were finally able to settle things down after more than a minute, all 10 players on the ice were issued penalties. As such, the 5 players from each team were crammed into their respective penalty boxes like sardines. Very funny. A lot of this pretty visual, so maybe you'd want to go Google it. But 10 guys in the penalty boxes at the same time. You don't see that every day.
It's very tight broing out in the penalty box. Like, it's not designed for 5 guys to be squeezed in there, like clown car vibes.
Yeah, at most, I feel like 2 or 3 comfortably, 2 comfortably, but 5's a lot. And I like that they go through with it. I like that it isn't like, hey, we get it. These people are in this box. It's like, no, get in the box.
Right.
You know what you did.
You know what you did.
That's what you get.
Get in there. Our next... You don't see that every day. That sounded a little different from that AI. That's strange. We could check that. What's going on with that clip? The New York Islanders defeated the San Jose Sharks 4-2 on Saturday, and in doing so had a goal that was taken off of the board. So the refs were conducting an official review on a goal from Islanders forward Anders Lee in the second period to determine if the shot went into the Sharks' net or not. And when the refs do that, they meet over by it's like in the middle. It's by the penalty boxes. Or is it on the other side? Whatever. They skate over to the boards and they have a little meetup. They ref out with each other and they discuss what the outcome of the play is going to be. Well, there was a Sharks fan, seated by that section. And I've never seen this before. It may have happened before. I didn't Google it. But you don't see it every day, certainly, right, lady? You don't see that every day. A fan reached out while the refs were discussing and offered either a $100 bill or 2 $100 bills at the referee, trying to bribe them to make the call in the Sharks' favor. Isn't that funny? That's basically the bit of all of these. I go, isn't that funny?
It's impressive that it's a crisp 100.
Yeah, it had clearly come out of the ATM freshly. Like it was a recent withdrawal.
Also, if you're going to bribe the refs with that much money, aren't you going to wait until, firstly, your team's any good and these games actually matter?
Wow.
And then when you're in a better position, like you're playing in the playoffs or you're in the Stanley Cup? Or is it at this stage, it's just like, I just need to see my team...
Yeah, I felt it from the vibe of like, look, I'm not going to sit in these seats forever. I'm at this game. This is not going in my favor. And I've happened to have 2 crisp hundos on me. I'd sacrifice these to get what I need. I'm shocked it doesn't happen more often. I'm also shocked that the refs didn't just like take the money and then make whatever call they were going to make anyway. The refs probably couldn't acknowledge it because they didn't acknowledge it. But it would have been pretty funny had they acknowledged it. Why? Because you don't see that every day.
I don't know why it's giving me Bart Simpson vibes.
What is the clip of that lady?
That AI, yeah.
The lady sounds like Daffy Duck.
All right. I think maybe go easy on the lady. Maybe she's had a tough weekend. Next up on You Don't See That Every Day. It's crazy how you're timing it perfectly to fit right when I'm ready for it to... There's no pause or anything. The Mavericks are being ravaged by injuries. It's a season from hell, truly, for their poor fans. They entered Sunday's game against the Suns with only 9 available players. How many are normally available?
12.
Yeah, 11, 12.
11 or 12. They had 9 only. And then 3 of them suffered injuries on Sunday afternoon, including 2 on the same play when Kessler Edwards and Dwight Powell collided face-to-face while chasing a rebound. This seems like an unnecessary detail, but the Mavericks did lose 125-116. So they went into the game with only 9 players. 2 of them run into each other. A third one gets injured. So they played with 6 available players.
And there's a cutaway to the GM because like Nico Harrison is the GM who traded away Luka Doncic and the fans hate him.
Yeah.
And when the 2 players run into each other, there's a shot of him just going surrender Cobra and turning away from just turning away from the action. Like, I can't believe the consequences of my own actions.
I mean, truly, he should be forced to look at it. They should tape his eyes open and make him sit there and look at it. Look what you did. Look what you've done.
One more of these guys goes down and you're suiting up. You're going to the low post.
You're going to have to find somebody somewhere to play. Running into each other is such a cartoonish way.
Yeah, you need the Benny Hill music underneath.
Truly. I haven't seen the video, but I almost don't want to because the way that it's happening in my mind, I prefer.
The first thing I'm thinking of is the guys who mop the floor after people fall on the ground.
Yeah, great.
Like, I want to know what that looked like
Yeah.
afterwards.
This
like
is
running into your own garage door. And
yeah.
Like, shit.
Now
I have to fix two things.
This is the basketball equivalent of like stepping on a rake. It's like you better just be careful. You hide all sharp objects from around the Mavericks bench. Clearly, they're just bumping into stuff. Just crazy. And you know what else I would say? Not just crazy, but you don't see that every day. Wow.
I had to take a breath on that one.
I was breathing, and then Chris took a second to play the clip. I was just taking
I'm quite good at this.
Right. Yeah, we've noticed. Two more in this wonderful segment of winning awards across podcast spaces. Katy Perry's going to space. Katy Perry's going to space. On February 27th, Blue Origin, that's Bezos' space company, because every billionaire has to have like a space company and an airline and a website or something. Blue Origin announced the 6 people flying on its NS-31 mission. The crew includes Aisha Bowe, Amanda Nugent, Gayle King, Katy Perry, Carrie Ann Flynn, and Lauren Sanchez. That is Jeff Bezos'. Are they married yet, or is that his fiance?
They're not married.
Not married yet. But I believe
you'll know
they are.
When they get married.
I mean,
you'll be visible from the rest of the known universe.
It's wild. You know, this is technically a sports story. If you're thinking this isn't a sports story, Lauren Sanchez, ex-wife, I think, of Tony Gonzalez. She's got their son. They had at least one child together, Tony Gonzalez. Because when I was doing Great British Bake Off, the Great American Baking Show, or whatever they called our version of it, Tony Gonzalez was on it, and we were out for drinks. Everybody, not just me and Tony Gonzalez. Nightmare. And Tony's talking about how he's going on this trip. Him and his son are going to go, and they were on a yacht or something. He was on his ex-wife's new man's yacht. And I don't know Tony Gonzalez like that. So I was like, wow, I love that. You're like friends with your ex-wife's new man? And he was like, it's Jeff Bezos. And I looked at DK Metcalf. I looked at DK and I was like, what? And DK looked at me like, what? And it was just a fascinating to just be like, yeah, I'm going on Jeff Bezos's yacht. And I guess, yes, if your wife goes and sleeps with Jeff and is going to marry Jeff Bezos, you would use the connection. In most other situations, I think you'd be like, I don't want to know about your new... It's Jeff Bezos. I'll take the invite.
Drop.
Yeah, and to his credit,
out here
I guess.
Name dropping Vinny Pasquantino, and he's out here name dropping.
To his credit, he did try
Jeff
not
Bezos.
to drop the name, but he did look at me like I was a fool when I was like, "Why would you go on the guy like Mr. Steal Your Girl's yacht?" Oh, because it's the one of the richest men on earth. Got it. But anyway, Lauren Sanchez, Ms. X Tony Gonzalez, brought the mission together. She's honored to lead a team of explorers, on a mission that will challenge their perspectives of Earth, empower them to share their own stories, and create lasting impact that will... What the fuck is that? Those are 3 things that are not being accomplished in this mission. Again, to go over them. Challenge their perspectives of Earth. They will technically do that because their perspective of Earth has always been from its surface, and this will take them into the big air. So I get that part. Empower them to share their own stories. I guess you could rephrase that to give them something to talk about, because I don't know how you're being empowered by being launched into space. And create lasting impact that will inspire generations to come. I think pretty ambitious to think we're going to have generations to come. This past weekend, Sanchez posted an IG clip of a Zoom call with the full crew. I watched the clip. It's not worth it. You guys can go look it up if you want to. I will say, my main takeaway from the clip, Lauren Sanchez references how they're going to come back too many times for me. She's very confident about like, we're going to return from this trip. And then whatever she says at the second half of the sentence, I'm like, lady, you hope. I don't know what. Also, you're going to get all these women out into space, can't get them together to let them know? It's a Zoom call. The mission will be the 11th human flight for the New Shepard program and the 31st in its history. To date, the program has flown 52 people above the Kármán line. And what's that? I'm supposed to know what that is?
The Kármán line is the internationally recognized point where space begins.
Okay. Oh, it says it right in the next part of the sentence. I'm an asshole. Sorry, Brady. The internationally recognized boundary of space. That's my fault. So they're gonna.
Like, what do you consider space?
They're gonna edge space. This is that same thing. They're not going anywhere. They're just dipping a toe in and going, it's pretty warm.
But what I don't understand is, what do they mean when they say that we hope to inspire generations?
Well,
to do what? To go into space?
As the generation to come, Isabella, do you feel inspired? And second question, in what way?
I'm okay with land and shore. That's fine with me. I don't need to know what's out there. The braver people.
Okay, this feels important for me to say. First of all, I think this is what they meant by inspiring. This is the first all-female flight crew since Valentina Tereshkova's solo space flight in 1963. Okay. Back when only one woman was allowed to do it. Now we've expanded. Now you can have multiple women in the same spaceship. Flights, editorial note, flights in the New Shepard program last 10 minutes. And they go just past the Kármán line into suborbital space. It's 62 miles above sea level. It's a 10-minute flight. 10 minutes.
Can we do the audible version of Isabella squirming at this fact? Having heard these people talk about inspiring generations.
With that music under the clip.
God, I didn't like it.
And sharing their stories as if we just can't hear from astronauts that have been to space.
Wow.
And
this is powerful. I really think, as Eleanor Roosevelt once said, dip your toe into space and inspire generations to come. Also, shout out Gail King saying, I'm scared. Is anyone else scared? Yeah, you're getting on a spaceship, Gail. I don't think any of you have experience with this. But I will say, you don't see that every day. Last one. This one came from me, and it came in the form of me going, wow, somebody got Taylor Rooks' phone number, which you don't see that every day. That was just me saying it. Just me saying it a little louder than I normally say. I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was a magic trick. Sometimes magic tricks are dumb, and sometimes I love them and I'm obsessed with them. I saw a clip of a magician, George Stanton. I saw this on Instagram. He's at GS Magic. He's a magician from Chicago. And the trick was they basically messed up a pile of cards on a table and smushed them back together. And then he spread out the deck and pulled out all the cards that were face down instead of face up in the deck after having smushed it. And he gave the stack of those face down cards. There were 10 of them. He gave those to Taylor Rooks, and he was like, because you smushed the deck and pushed everything around, ideally these numbers will mean something to you. And so she flips over the first number, and it's a 6. And he said, does a 6 mean anything to you? And she's like, no. She flips over the next number. It's a 7. He says, does that mean anything to you? 67. She was like, no. Flips over an 8, and she goes, oh, so you think maybe the trick's working? And she goes, are they all in order? And he's like, does that 6, 7, 8? Let's see. She flips over the next card and it's a 5. And she's like, oh, so they're not all in order. And then you see her go, wait a second. And he goes, what? The magician's like, what? And she flips over the next card and she's like, this can't be on this. She looks at the camera and she's like, if this is what I think it is, this can't be on film. And she looks at the rest of the cards and it's her phone number. It's first of all, an amazing trick. Second of all, an amazing trick to pull off with one of the most beautiful women to walk the face of the planet, Taylor Rooks. To do a trick where the whole time he kept restating, now you did this, now you picked these, now this was you, which in the context, once you figure out it's her phone number, is game on game. To basically be like, you're giving me I didn't even want it. You're just giving me your phone number. Nobody asked for this, lady. I don't want your number, but you've given it to me. And I thought that was great. And it's also something you don't see that every day. Great.
Worth what we paid for the drop.
I think so. And it was a lot, actually. And it's why we don't have an Anals or a Tita's hat on set. Okay, I didn't mean to go segment to segment, but here we are. The podcast unfolds the way that it does. I'm not in control. We just are all here experiencing the podcast together. And what happened here is that Chris is a big basketball fan, including college basketball, and has been pitching for weeks to update us all on what's going on in the land of college basketball. And we just, A, we don't have that much time, and B, like, I can't care till I have to. And we're at the point now where, like, today, Chris was like, hey, it is time to have to care. Selection Sunday is this upcoming Sunday. That's for the men's tournament as well as the women's tournament, Chris?
Correct.
And
Yes.
so Chris has been trying to update us on what's going on in college hoops for months. And now I think it's time. You've got, what is it? What's the build of this segment? Of the 5 things to know?
5 things to know. 5 biggest storylines heading into Champ Week and the NCAA tourney.
Okay, and that's but I'm looking through it here, Chris, and I don't mean to call you a sexist, but I'm happy to. Is this men's tournament only?
These specific storylines that I have written out in our document.
This sounds like a long explanation that ends with, yes, it's men's tournament only.
Correct.
Okay, so Brady, can you help me out here? And I think once Chris he gives us his first fact, can you respond with also a fact about the women's tournament?
On behalf of women, yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ally. You stand with us and we stand with you. All right, Chris, why don't you get to your first fact?
Okay, so the first thing that everyone should be aware of, and we've spoken about this actually on the show the last couple of weeks, St. John's the biggest story in college basketball, or at least one of the biggest stories this season. They're up to number 6 in the AP poll. Last week we mentioned that you should watch their game against Marquette that came up this weekend on Saturday at noon. They ended up winning that game on a buzzer beater. Incredible game. They're just taking so much confidence into the Big East tournament, but they're going to be one of the teams to watch. It's been an incredible turnaround since last season when they narrowly missed out on the tournament. They probably should have made it. They didn't make it in the end. They're going to be easily in now. And I think it shows the growth of this program, considering last week Pitino was on with Jimmy Fallon, and Pitino, as well as some of the members of the team, took part in a sea shanty cold open.
If I may, note to the whole thing, very auto-tuned. Do we need auto-tune to do a sea shanty? The whole point of a sea shanty was that we're all here together and we're singing to pass the time. It doesn't have to sound perfect. Just let them sing. Silly.
T-Pain auto-tuned I'm on a boat.
Silly. You know what? It's so silly. I'm going to say, Brady, can you give me a women's fact instead so I can move on? I can cleanse my palate from whatever that was?
I can give you the fact that there is a battle at the top spot in the women's game this year. It's a sport that is typically noted for single-team dominance.
Right.
A lot of it's been Dawn Staley in recent years in South Carolina, but this year 4 different teams have held the top spot.
And those teams are?
Been on UCLA for 12 weeks, South Carolina for 3 weeks, Texas for 2 weeks, and Notre Dame had one. Even there was a span in February, March. We had 4 straight weeks with a different number 1 team.
Chris, sorry, Brady. Chris, if you could please stay silent for this part. We know where you stand. Thank you, Brady.
And that didn't even include preseason top 5 teams, UConn and USC.
Oh, and you'd have to include them. That's great. Okay, Chris, you had another one that you wanted to say?
The SEC have a chance to field the most amount of teams into the tourney this season. They could potentially get a record 12 or 13 teams into the tournament. The record so far is 11. It seems like they are going to break that record, so they are historically fantastic. Yes, Katie.
I have a question. How many teams are in the SEC?
16 teams.
Okay, and they may get 12 or 13 of them into the tourney. That's pretty good.
Correct.
Pretty good, she says. Okay, cool. Isabella, you have a question?
Is the SEC Securities and Exchange Commission?
Yes.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Good job by you.
Southeastern Conference.
Southeastern Conference, yes.
Brady, something we care about instead?
Talk about SEC. Dawn Staley and the Gamecocks are back to potentially being the number one overall seed in the women's tournament. They just blew out number one Texas at the SEC championship on Sunday, trying to go for 3 out of 4 championships. Dawn Staley's team won in 2022 and 2024.
Gamecocks. But back to the cock game. You have a third one there, Chris?
Yes.
Thanks.
That was very, very
Thank
good.
you.
On the flip side of the SEC, we have the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Which includes, I believe, at this point, Cal, which is crazy because
and Stanford.
That's insane. It's this is why, Isabella, when you're like, what does SEC stand for? I really want to say it doesn't matter because the Atlantic Coast Conference, including two teams from California, is crazy to me. But anyway, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
It is ridiculous. But they may only get 3 teams into the tourney this season, which would be their lowest tally in 25 years. One of the teams that could miss out provided they don't make a splash in the ACC tournament are the Tar Heels. North Carolina Tar Heels, one of the biggest brands, one of the biggest franchises or programs, whatever you want to call them, in college basketball. They could potentially miss their second tourney in 3 years. Between the years of 1975 and 2009, they only missed the tourney twice. So it's it's been a slump for them in the last 3 years since Roy Williams left. He was their longtime head coach, and that's sort of been a theme amongst these ACC schools. A lot of big-time, long-tenured coaches have left ACC programs, including Coach K, although John Shire has taken over that program and done a tremendous job because they are now number 1 in the AP poll. But Roy Williams left, Tony Bennett from Virginia left, Jim Boeheim from Syracuse left. So you're getting a lot of newer names coming through. That's probably contributed quite a bit to the ACC's downfall, as well as the fact that they haven't been as quick to accept that NIL or as quick to implement the NIL era as some of these other franchise or some of these other conferences like the SEC have. So it's going to be fascinating to see. But Duke's really doing the heavy lifting for that conference there. Although one of their assistant coaches, Jai Lucas, he is now going to be the head coach of Miami, so he can't actually join the Blue Devils in the NCAA tournament. He coached his last game with them against the Tar Heels on Saturday.
So would you say that the ACC hasn't been as quick to adapt the NIL stuff as, let's say, the SEC, maybe because the SEC was always sort of doing it, or is that not something we feel comfortable saying?
I just think that a lot of the SEC boosters and a lot of people involved with those programs are used to giving money to these programs, and that's probably all I'm willing to say at this juncture.
Just checking. I was just checking.
Yeah.
Brady?
I don't care about the ACC. Okay. I care about the Big Ten, which was
how many teams are in how many schools are in the Big Ten?
607. UCLA, USC on Sunday was a crazy game.
I mean it. How many schools are in the Big Ten? Because I'll tell you what, it's not 10.
I'm so confused.
I know. That's why this is important. The Big Ten is
18.
18 schools!
So why is it 10?
Originally, I believe it was at some point 10. Whatever. Go ahead, Brady.
In the Big Ten, which is traditionally your Midwestern teams, your Illinois, your Michigans, your Indianas, your Ohio's. The title game on Sunday was a LA showdown between UCLA and USC. UCLA Player of the Year candidate Lauren Betts took down USC superstar Juju Watkins. Juju gave it her best. They really put a defensive lockdown on her, but Juju at this point, through her sophomore season, actually outpacing Caitlin Clark now on Caitlin Clark's way to the all-time NCAA scoring record. Juju's got 2 years to go to catch that.
She's only a sophomore?
Yeah, man.
Dang, she's good. Chris.
The Player of the Year race has pretty much been down to 2 players over the past, probably since December. I think most people have narrowed down the field between 2 players, and they are Duke's Cooper Flagg and Auburn's Janai Broome. These have been the 2 best players pretty easily for the majority of the season, but they have taken different paths to this season. They're 2 very different players in terms of Cooper Flagg was the best recruit coming into this season, projected number 1 draft pick in this year's draft, only 18 years old, very young, but a terrific player. On the other hand, Janai Broom, he's almost 23 years old. He might not even be drafted in the first round. He's sort of a journeyman, but he's, equally is putting up equal numbers to Cooper Flagg or pretty close. Now, when it comes down to really figuring out who's going to win this race, Cooper Flagg does have the better numbers, but he's playing in the weaker ACC, whereas Janai Broom is playing in the much, much tougher SEC. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top in that race. But regardless, those two guys are the names, I think. If you don't know anything about college basketball heading into the tournament, you want a couple of really good players to keep your eye on and to follow, Cooper Flagg and Janai Broom are the two best players in college basketball this season that you should keep your eye on.
And again, their teams are...
Cooper Flagg plays for Duke and Janai Broom plays for Auburn.
It's interesting.
Flag versus Broom is definly a
Flag versus
drunken
Broom
backyard fight I've seen at a frat house.
I actually think that's a scene in Fantasia, is Flag versus Broom.
We're going to be speaking about Fantasia.
Oh, good. I wanted an update. I was hoping for an update. Well, then let's get... I mean, it is crazy to say that they're both vying for Player of the Year, but that one of them is going to be in the first pick of the draft and the other might not even get drafted. That's kind of crazy to me.
He'll probably get drafted. I think I've seen some mocks having him early second round, so in the 30s. Probably.
Just because of his age?
Because of his age, because they know what his ceiling is. This is pretty much who he is as a player, whereas, Cooper doing this as an 18-year-old, a freshly 18-year-old, sure. You can sort of project forward, seeing how good he could become.
I believe in you,
with
Broom.
a couple of years of experience.
I think your ceiling's whatever you define it as. Brady? The gals?
I can do this on the gal side. Lauren Betts is your current frontrunner for Player of the Year. Really, her only competition, it's not Paige Beckers, the UConn star, who is your odds-on favorite to be the number one pick in the WNBA draft. But Lauren Betts is head-to-head with Notre Dame guard Hannah Hidalgo, who's been leading Notre Dame this year, scoring 24 points a game. She is a sophomore. Really, just star power all over the place in the NCAA tournament this
Sophomores are doing it for themselves. Sophomores are doing it. Nobody knows this song. Great. Okay. Is this the last one? Because I'm sleepy.
Last one.
Great. I love college basketball.
I can tell. Two of the programs that have been the most disappointing so far this season are UConn and Kansas, two teams that historically, especially the last 5 or so years, have been two of the better programs in college basketball. UConn came into the season as back-to-back champions, the 3-ranked team in the preseason AP poll. They finished conference play with a 14-6 record, third in the Big East. The thing that I like about this team, though, is their coach is an absolute psychopath. He is incredibly entertaining because he isn't afraid to pick fights and yell at people and all these sort of things. My favorite quote of his, this was from February 11th when he walked past a fan who was trying to mouth off at him, and he responded by saying, 2 rings, Baldy, 2 rings. Because he just came back from back-to-back rings. And I just
the guy was bald,
hilarious.
I assume?
The guy was bald. I'm hoping, even though Hurley himself is bald, so I don't know what he was
That's
trying
bald
to say.
on bald violence.
Bald on bald violence. You don't really see that very often.
You don't?
No.
Huh.
So it's going to be interesting to see whether they can turn it around in the Big East tournament. I don't think you can ever really count out Hurley and the UConn Huskies because they've done it before. They are a very solid team. Same with Kansas. Kansas came into the season as the number 1 ranked team in the preseason AP poll after a somewhat down season last season. They have historically been one of the greatest franchises ever, but this year they've really struggled. My favorite Kansas stat, though, I want to ask you a question, Katie. So,
I bet I know the answer.
This is a team that, like I said, have been around since 1898. Since then, they've only had 8 head coaches. 8 head coaches.
Name them.
Sorry. Here we go.
Show me how much you really know about sport. Yeah. 8 head coaches since 1898. Only one of those 8 have had a losing record. Do you know who that is?
Of course not. But this is crazy. The first thing I think of is Lumen CEOs from Severance. They've had I think 8, and since their company started, which was in the 1860s. That's crazy tenure for these coaches.
It's incredible.
We're talking about Kansas, right? The Kansas coach that I know is probably the one that you're saying is the one that had but I don't even remember who it was. Who's like their coach? Who's been their who was the
Cartwright B. Hoopington?
No. Yes.
No, the only coach
Is that a real person's name, or did you just make that up?
That is made up, but I love having you ask.
I was like, Hoopington. That was made for him.
He was
Okay.
born for this.
Wow.
The only Kansas coach to have a losing record in the game of basketball is Dr. James Naismith.
Oh my
who was
God.
their first coach, the guy who invented the game of basketball.
That's crazy.
So he invented it and was immediately bad at it?
Yes.
Wow.
The only Kansas head coach to have a losing record is the guy who invented the sport.
Wow. And now who's the coach I'm thinking of?
Bill Self.
Yes. I knew it was a word that meant something else. I just forgot because I forget next to everything about everything. But I won't forget what Brady tells me next as the final fact for the women's NCAA tournament.
I'll give you the plucky upstart for the tournament. Olympian Haley Van Lith and the TCU Horned Frogs. Haley was the bronze medalist on the USA 3v3 team this summer in Paris. She's on the third team. She was at Louisville, made the Final Four, took a stop in LSU.
Sorry, Louisville. That's how they like you to say it. Louisville.
She was on Louisville in 2022, made a stop at LSU, and now she dropped in 20 in the Big 12 championship game to take the Horned Frogs into the tournament. Selection show for the women is Sunday at 8 Eastern. First round of the tournament starts next Friday, the 21st.
Look at Brady with the tag on the end. Good job, everybody. Good segment. I will be watching both. Next episode, I think we're going to do a little fun, almost a nod to a past podcast segment, Third Month Crazy Time, where we're going to do a little bracket of stuff we love about March Madness. So we'll be doing more March Madness content leading into March Madness. And of course, I actually do love March Madness. I just argue you don't have to love or know college basketball to love March Madness. So I want to be clear that I love both of these tournaments and will get more into it than I am at the moment. It's just hard to get me there, especially because it's like you wish it started when March started and ended when March ended, and it doesn't do that. And that pisses me off because they like copyright the phrase, like you're not allowed to use it. And it's like, but it doesn't even happen all in March. So who the hell do you think you are, basically, is my question. But okay, that's all of the news for the podcast this week. It was quite a bit. Sorry to have kept you so long, but we do want to, before we let you go, give you some things you can watch this week if you find yourself wanting to watch some sports. I know it's been a Chris-heavy podcast today, but this is Chris's segment, so he will still give us what we're watching this week. And Chris, what do we got first?
Well, I'll start with the Selection Sunday for college basketball, considering we were just doing our long segment on college basketball. So we have Selection Sunday for the men's.
This guy won't give it up. He won't quit.
On CBS, Sunday, March 16th. And the women's Selection Sunday will be held at 8 p.m.
There you go.
Eastern
Nice. He's learned his lesson.
On Sunday on CBS.
Good job, Chris.
So back to back. So you've got the men's at 6 o'clock and the women's at 8 o'clock.
Great.
Name one of the women's players I just mentioned.
Haley Van Lith.
There we go. It's the last one.
Recency.
Paige Buchers.
Beckers. But that's okay. You're not
Paige
from here.
Beckers.
You can pronounce it however you want to.
Yeah, that's how we say it in Australia.
Yeah, they say Buchers in Australia. Everybody knows that. So
Everyone knows it. Next one. The Formula One begins this weekend in Melbourne, Sunday, March 16th at 12 a.m. Eastern. So essentially Saturday night. If you're going to have a late night Saturday, if you can afford to sleep in on Sunday, you can watch that race from 12 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2. First race of the season. If you don't know much about Formula One, Drive to Survive launched last Friday. Me and my wife are a couple of episodes in. It's a good season so far. Check it out.
great.
Racing's fun.
Love to
And
race.
the third thing to watch this season, my most excited thing. Excited thing? Whatever it is. My
Most
AFL
anticipated?
Team, most anticipated, whatever. My AFL team
Our AFL team,
Our AFL team are beginning their 2025 season campaign this Thursday morning at 4:30 a.m. Eastern.
Oh my God. It's so early.
But you know what, though? The best way to watch it, and this is what I'm going to do, I usually, for these really, really early games, because I need to bank as much sleep as I can, considering I have 2 young children. I normally sleep in until about 5, and then fast forward through the quarter time and halftime break, so then I catch up live for the start of the 4th quarter.
Okay.
Get a bit more sleep. So, yes, big game for us. We play Richmond. It's
Virginia.
Gonna be
the team from Virginia.
not Virginia, Richmond in Melbourne. Another suburb of Melbourne, just like Carlton. They have been a much better team than us over the last decade, but they are going through a rebuild at the moment. They're fielding a very, very, very young side. Carlton should win, but I don't want to.
But we'll see.
Assume anything.
Now,
or assume anything.
The last time we talked about this, we heard about your daughter's devastating conundrum that she wasn't really aware of yet, where you had gotten her to fall in love with this team through the young player you had just drafted named Jagga Smith. And she was like, Jagga Smith, huge fan. And then Jagga got hurt during not even a preseason game, but an exhibition game before that. And you were trying to figure out how to break it to her. We proposed that you introduce a player that has another cool name before you break the news. I'm checking in with you now. Where do we stand on the Jagga Smith or Orazio Fantasia situation? Yeah,
so I really liked this advice that you guys gave. So it took me a few days to actually sit down with her and, try this, because I was just nervous about bringing up the whole situation, because I knew as soon as I started talking about Carlton, she'd just bring up Jagga Smith straight away. But eventually on Friday night, it was just me and her alone, and I'm just like, all right, this is the time to bring it up. So we were lying in her bed, and I just said, hey, by the way, I want to show you a funny video of another player from Carlton called Orazio Fantasia. So I pulled up YouTube, and there's a video, like a 48-second video of a commentator saying Orazio Fantasia's name over and over again. And it's quite funny because it's a funny name. And as soon as I started the clip, she noticed that it was Australian football, and she said, where's Jagga Smith?
Oh, no.
And I said, well, he's not in this clip. This is Orazio Fantasia. And she's like, okay. So we watched it. And then it finished, and she's like, can I watch it again? I'm like, great, fantastic. So I played it for her again, and she starts laughing a little bit, finishes, can I watch it again? I'm like, oh, this is great. Played it for her again. She keeps laughing and loves the name. I'm like, this is working. So I played it for her like 5 or 6 times, this clip. And at the end, I said, who's your favorite Carlton player? And she goes, Jagga Smith.
Oh, no.
And I'm like,
no.
Like, well, but do you like Orazio Fantasia? And she's like, no, I don't like him.
No!
I like Jagga Smith.
No!
Oh, I thought she would give at least some.
That sounded like, she is baiting and switching. She made it seem, can I watch it again? Well, then what did you want to see?
Yeah. So
she was waiting for Jagga Smith.
This
I'm
weekend.
Mad at a child now.
I tried it again this weekend, play the video for her again.
Yeah.
Same thing. Asked her, who's your favorite player? Jagga Smith.
Dang.
Right? So I'm still going to try to get her on board Orazio Fantasia. But as I woke up this morning and we're looking through the forums, guess who's out this week with a mild calf strain?
Shut up.
Orazio Fantasia.
No
he's not playing
way.
on Thursday. He was looking real good this preseason, but he's not playing until
my
at
God.
least
I just have terrible
round 2.
luck at this, I guess. It's not, that's wild. I think the universe is trying to say that your daughter doesn't need to like AFL. Does that feel crazy?
No.
Does that feel, is that blasphemous? That's wild. I'm really sorry you're going through this. What a struggle. I'm looking through the what to watch this week. I just want to recap for the audience. That's men's college basketball, which we know Chris is upset. Just let me just finish. If you had your turn, it's my turn now. We've got a men's college basketball and women's. It's college basketball, right? Formula One Melbourne Grand Prix. That's I don't know if you all remember. That's where Chris is from, Melbourne. Mm-hmm. And then we have the AFL Carlton versus Richmond. That is the Australian Football League. So these
you can watch that on Watch AFL, by the way. For some reason, this game isn't on FS1 or FS2.
I wonder what that reason could be. Very good. Those are technically three things you could watch if you wanted to watch sports this week. Just a little bit. I'm looking for a nod maybe from Brady and Isabel. A little Chris heavy on the stuff that you could watch this week. And that's Chris taking issue with it.
I'm just a man of the people.
Right.
That's all I am.
If all people are you, then they would love to watch these 3 things. I just want to add a 4th thing because it breaks the format. But I think maybe for anybody who isn't Chris, that maybe needs one other, if you want to watch sports this week, this is kind of like watching sports. Mina Kimes, my dear friend who has been a podcast guest on this here podcast, Her episode of Celebrity Jeopardy is finally airing this week. So Wednesday night at 8 p.m. on ABC. It's a primetime show. It airs separately from the other Jeopardy. It's Mina up against Fortune Feimster and Omar J. Dorsey. He's an actor from like Django Unchained and The Blind Side. So that's Mina Kimes I don't know how far she goes. I just know this is the first round. 8 o'clock on ABC. I'm so excited. Yeah, actually. And I was like, I could send you my binder. I could send you I told her to focus on things. The easiest thing is to focus on things that have a finite amount of information that you can refresh yourself on. So like periodic table, capitals, countries, like refresh your memory on those things or like Shakespeare. Because when you get into like concepts that there's no end to. She said she was most worried about science. So something to keep in mind going into this episode. We'll see how she does if there's any science questions. But I am jacked up. This is anyone who's known me for a while and who has been around knows that anything pertaining to Mina's career gets me very excited. This is probably second to like in my life. I got very excited for my Celebrity Jeopardy. Mina's is directly below that. This is huge. So Wednesday, 8 o'clock on ABC. Let's go, Mina Kimes. Kimes Hive, stand up. Buzz, buzz. It's been about 3 hours, so it does feel like it's time to let you guys go. It's been a very fun podcast. There's so much to say. It's a long podcast, and I still feel like we left meat on the bone. But guys, that's the game. That's the gig. That's how it goes. You get in what you can and then you move on. I'm glad we got all that Lauren Sanchez content. I think that podcasts have really been missing out on Lauren Sanchez content. Email casualswithkatynolan@gmail.com. On socials, it's at casual. Why did I think I could do this from memory? What in me? Casuals the podcast, at Casuals the podcast. And the phone number is 646-801-0043. You could ask me to repeat that right now that it's not in front of me, and I already would have forgotten it. You're getting to see how this brain works, and it's that it doesn't. It really doesn't. It processes information, but it doesn't hold on to it. Thanks for listening. Share it with your friends. Leave us a review. You guys have been great. Thursday, no guest, right? I'm looking at my crew confirming no guest Thursday. We don't think we have a guest Thursday, so I think it's just I don't know, he's doing stuff with his hands. Brady, none of what you're doing is a universal symbol of something. So I don't know
hold off and let's not declare this a guest-free episode on Thursday.
Okay,
yeah.
So a mystery maybe guest who could turn out to be nobody on Thursday, and we'll see you then. We love you. We mean it. Bye.